Welcome to the show created for the modern man. The topic for today is going to be being your own man. And I know you heard this and you're probably thinking, oh, here you go, some self-aggrandizing dude that thinks he's all, macho male, alpha male, this, top of the food chain kind of dude. And though I do believe that, and I do think that, that's not kind of where I'm going with this. So the reason for the topic is that I keep on hearing and seeing just the wrong information about what it means to, being your own man, and especially when it comes to men and dating, and just men that have had a bad experience with the female gender, and then all of a sudden they get into this being a man trip, but it's on this whole disrespectful part, or on this disrespectful trip. It's not about being a man, it's just being an asshole. And a lot of guys and young men are confused about this, and I think I touched on it a little bit earlier, or not a little bit earlier, but in my first podcast, about how more men are just becoming more disrespectful, more blatant, the way they're talking, just the way they're approaching girls, the way they're just expecting something unrealistic without even, laying the groundwork as real men should, to be able to demand the kind of response that they want with the attitude that they're having, even though that the attitude that they're having or giving is completely inappropriate and in borderline childish. So a lot of these guys that you hear on the YouTube, or I said the YouTube like a old ass 60-year-old, like on the YouTube. But if you go on YouTube, or you go on, you find them online, you hear this, message from one side of man, or one side of men saying, oh, being a man and, being a certain way and holding yourself a certain way to females. And then you have the other side of the spectrum with men, or with us men, saying that you got to be cavalier and you got to do this and hold certain rules and, follow certain steps. And, then you might go on to other, especially with motivational speakers, it could range from don't be a pussy and work 25 hours and figure out how to create an hour, to work smarter, work only 3 days a week. And you could read all the self-help books about macho-ness and being in an alpha state and and blah 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 blah, and follow all this useless advice. And it's all I'm going to be preaching for here to whenever I stop fucking talking, is some of them are just preaching regurgitated information with no experience, no receipts. Others have been broken, hurt so bad that they're putting out this bullshit that sounds good, that is in line with the masculine male, but then they cross over into the asshole and damage women that way also. And it's one of the things that gets on my everlasting nerve, that the information that not only young men, which is concerning enough because they're coming up, but we have to, that's why this is why the channel was created, to hopefully hit some of these young kids or these young men, and kind of let them know, like, you don't got to listen to these people. I know it sounds good, but trust me, it's not the right way to go about this, or about it, in anything that you do. And it's not just about women. And a lot of these channels focus on women, even though they're telling you not to focus on women, by being, an alpha state of mind. And like I said, I could go on with the punchlines, and I say a lot of that just because sometimes it becomes redundant. But I'm sure anybody listening to this channel has already heard every freaking one of these phrases being told by, if not relationship coaches, dating coaches, life coaches, men coaches, whatever they call themselves, men gurus. I've seen and heard some crazy shit from some of these from some of these sources, both male and females, and the bashing that goes in between everything, and just like, or in between everyone, and just like everything else, we end up glorifying one more than the other, and then it becomes this fan, like who has the most, who's the most manliness, and who has this, and all, he has more it becomes this popularity contest, when I don't really care about that, whether well, I shouldn't say I don't care, because that will be false on my part, but I'm saying I want to get the information out, and that's why I asked the questions, and I'm going to phrase it in the way I see the best fit for the medicine. Not saying I might have the cure-all, but I think the message that has to be set out is the correct message. I mean, I don't want to sugarcoat it. It just is what it is. The truth is the truth, and the correct message is the correct message. So without getting too much into because I don't want to get be this into this, this coach or that coach, or this, this habit, like, no. So let's just go back to the basic of the question. Being your own man. And what does that intake? And let's just start off with yourself in that aspect. What does it mean to be your own man with yourself? Because at the end of the day and in the beginning of each morning, that is at the core of everything to each one of us, is that being, what does it mean for me to be a man today as I wake up every single day? Like, what do I gotta be? Where do I have to hold myself accountable? And I think that is being your own man to yourself. Accountability, not to the world, not to anyone in your family, your friends, but to yourself. And waking up every day with that intention. Will you succeed? No, that's not the point. The point is not about succeeding. The point about execution. The execution will lead to perfection. What is that one motivational guy say? And I love that one. He says, "Practice don't make perfect. Practice makes permanent, something like that." So yeah, practice doesn't make perfect, but practice makes permanent. And that's the thing. You have to wake up with that mindset and saying, I'm going to be the best version of myself, and treat the world and show the world through my actions what being a man is, and holding that masculine energy. Not this alpha crap that they say, and whatever you hear out there, just having a masculine frame of mind, and staying in that masculine frame of mind, and understanding what a masculine state of mind. And we'll go into it farther down in future episodes, and I'll break down exactly what being in a masculine energy or in a masculine state of mind is. And for the most part, 80%, 70% you've already probably heard, but there's that extra 25% to 30% that I think is super, super important to not get that, to be the complete, be as complete as you can be. And don't worry, we're not going to dive into no religion, and that's not anything part of this. And even though I don't really care where you believe or where you fall in the spectrum, this is about being a man. And I am fully aware that religious teachings can then lead to the way certain men act. But honestly, that's dogma to me, and I can't change that. What I can change is where everyone in the middle. I'm not talking to the extremes. I'm talking to the people, the majority of people in the middle. So it's always understanding, hey, how can I be my own man and keep myself accountable before I even step foot out the door, before I even put a foot out of my bed, having that mindset of saying, I am going to be the best version of myself this whole day today, and I'm going to just go at it with that mindset. And then that takes you into your relationships, or how to be your own man with friends, and you go about it that, like, what do I expect from my friends, as far as those around me, to that I can feel like I am being my own man. And so an example would be how you would be your own man is by having a selective group of friends, because a lot of us leave anyone, like, or let anyone come in as a so-called friend, which are completely unhealthy for us and toxic for us, and do nothing but sponge off of us or give us this weird energy. You could call it feminine energy or negative energy or whatever kind of energy, but these people don't belong in you. So being your own man is being in control of your friends and your friend circle, your social circle. And you have to really evaluate that kind of a thing and say, well, are these friends really good for me? Are these people encouraging me or putting me down? Are these people pushing me or holding me back? And then once you do that, because you'll say, well, why was that second on the list? And it is kind of in that order, and I'll explain now. Because third would be, or my next on my list is with family. How can you be how can you be, your own man with your family? And of course, this is very subjective, because I would have to individually go through each individual life and then, be able to say this is with your family. But with your family, just like within your friends, being your own man is being able to control the relationships that you're going to have with your family, with your mom, with your dad, if they're still alive, whether one or the other or none or both. The relationships that you're going to have with your mom and dad, with your brother, with your siblings, with your cousins, you have to control the flow and energy, the flow of that. And that's how you control, or you are in control of you being your own man with your family. And then that trickles into work. And the reason I have them this way is because I'm doing them as what I see as important, with yourself first and then your friends, because we're surrounded most, not all, with our friends. Our friends hang out with us, they come over. Once we move out of the house of our parents, that's kind of it. And for the most part, we didn't know anything any better. We were kind of just growing with them, or growing older into adolescence with them as our authority figures. But we end up having more time or more influences being done or given to us by our peer group. And that's why I have them there. But then the reason I have the family after that is because they're the support group. They're the ones that are going to be there, that have the unconditional love, which sometimes borders into the unhealthy. But especially for us men, it's the way it's in our progression. And then it's to work. How do you become the best, or be your own man in work? And it's by holding the standards you have for yourself, like owning that you're the best at your job. If you really feel like you're the best at what you do or good at what you do, you own it. You don't kind of half-ass own it. No, you 100% own it. And if you're good at math and counting, then you own it. If you're the quickest one in your construction site to put up, 3 walls or whatever, cool, own it. If you're great with statistics, own it, and speaking up for yourself, not, being rolled over by your employees or being rolled over, by your supervisor. Having respect for those same people that rolled you over, your supervisors or your colleagues, and being able to dictate and control, same thing, the flow of energy in your work. Whether someone's giving you a hard time, whether your boss is screaming at you or being erratic and whatnot, your coworkers are getting on your nerves, or your employees ain't listening, how are you going to control that energy? And the way you control that energy and being your own man is exactly that, being your own man and understanding these energies, these feelings, and then controlling the interaction. And that's what a common thing, like I think you guys have probably already picked up on it, is controlling your environment, controlling your mind, controlling your friends, controlling your peer group, controlling your family or your heart, your loved ones, controlling your the place of of work that allows you to have a life and being functional humans, male in this modern society. That's what being, and controlling that. So getting there on time, making sure you do your work, that's all part of being your own man. But in being your own man, you're controlling your outcomes, as you can see as we're going to go on. And then after that is your faith. Now, again, you go, oh, he's going into religion. No, I'm not going into religion. What I'm saying, having faith. Whether you want to attribute that to religion, Christianity, Islam, Catholicism, Judaism, whatever it is, Buddhism, whatever you decide to attribute that's whatever. Whether you have faith in money or whether you have, whatever. Having faith can be many things. What I'm defining it for this is having faith that things will come out correct, whatever it may be. That's something that we all have to look within ourselves, but having faith, not that it's going to come out better no matter what. Because sometimes for us men, it's really hard. And sometimes we lose faith. That's why suicide rates among men are really high. And it's not because we have lack of faith in God or believe the wrong faith or believe any of this stuff. Is that sometimes we just don't believe it's going to get better. But then we all know, the ones that have been through some of the low points or have been there with people that have hit really, really low points, that there is another side to everything. And that's what being your own man is, knowing that you could lose everything. You could be, in the street somewhere, in an alley somewhere with no one loving you, being out in the cold, and you having that faith that it's going to get better. And I know it's hard. I know it's really hard to be able to think that way, or to even imagine yourself there in that way, and then on top of that think, oh, I have to have faith on when I'm done. Like, do you think about your family, your kids right now, your wife, whatever, and your mom, your sisters, anything, your job, and anything. All of a sudden, take all that away, and you still want me to have faith? A lot of people don't. A lot of men don't. A lot of men choose to end it in those moments. But then that's not being your own man. You've forgotten you've given up being your own man because you've lost faith that it's gonna get better. And that's, sad truth for a lot and too many men out here that just lose that faith. And it's not in an entity, it's not in a spiritual being, it's just faith that everything's gonna be better. Sometimes it's a long fall. Some falls are not. All falls are not all created equal. Some falls are longer than others, and some are quick and really, really painful. Way more painful than some of the ones that take longer, and vice versa. Some that go longer will be extremely more painful than anything quick. It's all individualized. But you have to have faith that it's going to get better. You lost, you made investments and they all went to shit. You have to have faith that you're going to be smart enough next time to be able to make those right investments. And then you're going to, weather the storm, that the stock market will bounce back and you'll recuperate some of that money that you lost. Your divorce went through and she took almost all your money, which is something that us men need to really galvanize and get some of these laws corrected. But knowing that that no matter what happened to you, it's gonna get better. And I've seen it. I've seen men lose everything in divorce, and then 2, 3, or 4 years later you see them and it's like the best thing that ever happened to them. So you have to have faith that no matter what, it's going to get better. Your kids might leave and never and don't talk to you for years. You have to believe and have faith that they're going to come back, and they're going to want to have a communication. That that's going to get better. That they'll remember you, and they're going to want to have a relationship, the one that you want with them. And I've seen it happen. But you have to have faith. Like I said, not in religion, not in any spiritual being, just faith that is going to get better. And then being your own man also in your finances. Making sure you're in control of every move you make. Every investment, every house, every loan, everything you're going to spend on if you want to spend money on a vacation, on a truck, like being your own man is knowing exactly where every dollar goes, where every cent that you earn is being taken to, and having a plan, having, like I said earlier, investments, having a savings, having a vacation fund, having an emergency fund, having enough in the bank to hold you over for 3 to 6 months, having your credit cards in order and not in debt, or not too much in debt nowadays with the student loans and whatnot. And we'll get into student loans and how men, I feel, wow, honestly, I can't even really say that, because I think a lot more colleges are using females now to get that tuition money. But 5-10 years ago, it wasn't that. They were using really, really young men on for tuition, and some of the laws that they passed for the sports were ridiculous, where, oh yeah, come over here, you could be a lacrosse player, and the school got paid for it, but you didn't get paid for it. And there's a whole nasty side to this whole thing, but and we'll get to that part, because there's a huge part. Like I said, this show is for the modern man and everything about the modern man and just male topics, period. So if you guys are enjoying the content and enjoying this episode so far, subscribe, like to the channel. It helps me. It helps me out. So share the video if you think someone could benefit from listening to the message. But anyways, to get back on point, is being your finances, being your own man in your finances, to make sure that you have control. Not saying that it's perfect right now, but being able to say, I am in control. You might be in the red, but you're in control, and you're getting yourself out of the red with savings, with cutting back, maybe no cable for a few months, whatever it is, but you are in control. Whether you're in the red or in the blue, it doesn't really matter, as long as you're in control. That's the key of your finances, because you could be making a whole grip of money and spend it like crazy and not have no self-control. But because you have a good job or you have the income temporarily to do that, it doesn't really bother you. But that's not having control of your finances, hence why you're not being your own man, because the money is going wild and it's in control of you, as opposed to you being in control of it. And I've also seen people that have been in the red that have full control, manage debt. They have a couple houses. They invested. They took a huge gamble on themselves, but they're managing it, and little by little they're paying off here, paying off there, and they're working on that. But they have full control, and that's completely within being your own man. And but again, what is the whole point of it? Is that being your own man, you're in control of everything. And last but definitely not, last on this list, but it shouldn't be last on anyone's list. It's your habits, and it could have been on the top. Because some might say your habits dictate, yourself, your friends, your family, your work, your finances, your faith. But I put it on at the end, because if you are in control of yourself, of being a man, your habits will just fall in line with you always bettering yourself, always being your own man, always in that mindset of being your own man, no matter where it is, in everything you do. And you'll start just being your own man and owning everything in your life. So then you're not playing a victim. You're not out here just blaming everyone else but yourself. You're taking full ownership of every aspect, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, and everything in between. Because that's you. You owned it. You made it. That was your day. And however you did it, you controlled it. Whether it was hard or not, you controlled it. Whether you lost a couple money or a couple thousands, you controlled it. Whether it was super happy and you had the greatest time of your life, you controlled it. Whether you got divorced and completely lost everything, you controlled it. Because again, that's what being your own man is. And that's what a message that has to be heard, because like I said, a lot of these young kids or young men are just being led by the wrong people that have been hurt, and hurt people can't lead hurt people the same way that hurt people can't heal people. Hurt can't heal, and sadly that goes with everything. And hurt can't teach. Only all they're teaching is hate. And you're seeing a lot of these hate from these young men that are causing some of these women to be scared. Frankly, it might be a little bit misplaced scared them, but still scared nonetheless, because of the verbiage that you're hearing, and just that men are they're not in control of themselves. They're not being their own men. They're letting other weaker men or damaged men or hurt men that need healing themselves and need more of them being their own men before they go out and teach others how to be men according to the way they see the view or they see the world. And sadly, the way they see the world, or they've seen the world, has been through a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, where again, depending on where or who you're getting your information from, it could be from this, like I said, and I'm using air quotes, alpha mentality, or this, macho, everything, man, to where, the other spectrum where you got to be emotional and sensitive and listen. Either one of those spectrums, you are not your own man and you're not in control of your emotions. So with that said, again, subscribe to the channel, share the video. Until next time, you guys be blessed.